Yes.
Yeah. So my theory is, on one hand, like with his help, it progressed in one way, and in another way, what I discovered in December, now with more thinking, I realized that it is not a proof of DNA resonance. It is a discovery, yet a discovery, but it doesn't necessarily. It can. It's only incomplete proof. Basically, there is a chemical explanation which might explain the same phenomenon. I discovered that um, the resonators, the resonating structures that I predict, proton wires, which I predict in DNA sequence, they were selected by evolution. And in humans, they are selected to become shorter. And in animals, actually in a bird and a fish, they selected to become longer by evolution. But there is another chemical trivial explanation which makes this uh, resonance explanation unnecessary. So it doesn't prove it, basically. The skeptics can say that it is all by can be explained chemically, and I can't prove it is. So that was so far the best proof of my theory, but so basically I lost the proof. It's still a good discovery, but I lost the proof. It's not proven yet. Basically, I came back to how they say square one or something, to the beginning. I'm still
Well,
trying to prove that. What?
the thing is, it can be both. It can be
Yeah, of
chemical.
course. Of course, it's just not a proof. I still discovered something. It's just not a proof. So I'm
Right.
still looking for a proof. And yesterday I came with a great idea, another great idea. Uh, so basically, there is a very inexpensive way of visualizing DNA resonances by making DNA solutions and watching the ice crystal grow in them under microscope. So we cool them down, and in the microscope we watch the ice crystals. And I want to show the DNA sequence. My predictions of resonation are confirmed by the shape of the crystal. It's a
Ah,
very it's a very visually attractive method. Basically, if you can show that I predicted such a resonance and then I see the structure different,
oh, that's
that's a very
brilliant.
yeah, well, that's a very brilliant method.
Yes.
Obviously, it's a lot of work for labor, but if it is done in some cheap country, then it's very doable. Or if it is done in America by a grad student, uh,
Yes.
even undergrads can do it, by any students. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So that idea is just born. So I'm uh, I'm thinking how to make it happen, but it's just what we need, because in my latest theory, like again, it's born in the last 2 days, is that DNA structures the water through resonances. So I expect even small concentrations of DNA to make a huge effect on crystals.
Yes. Excellent. They're saying something about check out also quantum entanglement in the DNA, which means that if an atom is split, it resonates at the same time with the other side.
Right, right. Yep. Yeah, we are talking about it, and thanks for reminding. Yep.
Yes, because they said it has to, there is some of that because it has to work immediately. That's how some of the functions of the body are. When you feel a
Mm-hmm.
burn immediately, that's a quantum entanglement because
Uh-huh.
the brain has already responded.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, there is another interesting quantum physics phenomenon that the dimensions, the scale, the microscopic scales of DNA, the time is not functioning as it is here. Basically, at the level of DNA, there is the time is very different. It's pretty much it, it is not necessarily moving forward.
Right.
DNA creates time or experience of time, but at the dimensions of DNA, at the scales of DNA, at the dimensional, how do you say, spatial scale, yeah, at the small microscopic scale of DNA, the time is the cause consequence is different, the mechanics is different.
Yeah.
And that relates to the observation. There is a nice experiment. People were getting, I don't remember what kind of shock, but they were getting some sort of electric shock or something else. And they reacted as usual within fractions of a second. But when their electric brain activity was measured, there was premonition. The brain reacted before the event happened.
Correct.
So there is the time is with the biological system. The time is very non-linear.
Yes. Exactly. Oh, they're telling me all kinds of things. But anyway, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep conversation. If you have anything to add, go ahead.
Well, there's in the unused DNA, they said there's particles. Every individual is made from bits of DNA from the very beginning, but not all the DNA is used. So in the extra portions of the DNA, there will be molecules that when divided will have the quantum entanglement working with it, if you know how to do the split exactly. And if that happens, you will be able to use resonance and prove that that is working in that way. Also, resonance is important to DNA molecules in more than one way. They are all entangled with resonance. There are some more entangled with the chemical aspects, of course, but that is because the chemical aspects are dealing with things that are dealing with chemical aspects in the body. But the quantum energy portions are more about reactions, thought processes, and the higher functionalities of the body that are immediate.
I get it. Yeah.
Chemical reactions are slightly slower. And if they are seeing that there are chemical reactions and proving the chemical reactions, then they're wondering why it is slower and not doing the job in the immediate fashion that it would appear to be doing it. They will find linear time or inappropriate for this. They would find that it would have to be in a different time frame for it to be proved completely that chemicals are the full and most common use in the body. But moreover, it is that the vibration, the whatever you want to call that, the resonance of the DNA is the major factor in some ways, but it is so slight, it is unrecordable by most of your instrumentation. Now, you will be able to find a very quick reaction between molecules, and you will be able to find a very quick reaction between those that are entangled. But you will also find that there are slower vibrational reactions, such as music and sound, that also affect the system and body, because it is part of resonance and part of what is in the third dimensional acceptable sound ranges. And even that which is not in the acceptable sound ranges will affect the body.
Cool. Cool. I understand.
Good. You are on the right track. Do not ever give that up. You will be proven. You just have to move in all kinds of directions, because this is how it is discovered, by trial and error. We had to do the same thing. We had to learn how to do this, and your species will as well.
Who is speaking?
I am called Daedalus.
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 Oh, Daedalus.
D-E-D.
Oh, got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's why you sound a little bit ancient, but it is very cool. So
Yeah.
what star are you from?
We are from a different star than you are noting in your. It only has a number and a time signature with your peoples.
Yeah, what culture is it? Do we know the culture, name of the culture?
We are called Remians.
Romans?
Remians.
Remians. And were you with the Greeks or Romans? Greeks or Romans?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
Uh-huh. How long time ago?
2,800 years.
Ah, recently.
Yes.
Ah. So did Icarus or Icarus, did he actually fall?
Icarus,
Yeah.
there is that legacy of him falling. It wasn't as dramatic as reported, but yes.
What kind of technology was there?
What kind of what?
Technology.
Psychology? We brought
Technology.
technology.
Yeah.
We brought some, but we did not show it to the people. We thought that it would be not wise.
Yeah,
We did have technology that could read and decipher DNA in humans, which is what we started to do early. It was a research project. We were there for a time, maybe 70 to 80 years.
So which way did you use to read the DNA? Was it chemical or vibrational?
We used all different ways to read the DNA, because there are many different ways to read it. There are many different sides to it and many energies that are involved with it. So you must look at it in singular patterns. Certain energies like H13 energy or M11 energy or X3 or even G37 energies will sometimes show up in different patterns than you might expect. Now, there are chemical pathways as well. The chemical pathways are different than you might expect. They are full and complete pathways, and they are at least in some respects they are, and they still use resonation, even in the chemical technology of the body. There are some places where chemical and resonation work together.
Right. So the DNA is placed in the nucleus, and it is the main chemical protein synthesis reactions happen in the cytoplasm separated by the nuclear wall. I wonder how does the vibration go from DNA to the
To the what?
cytoplasm? So the cell has a nucleus, and all the DNA
Yes,
is, yeah,
the cell has a nucleus. This is um, the energy from the center of the nucleus can easily pass through the wall to the cytoplasm. You just have to know how to read it and what kind of energy you're looking at. It is not all the same kind of energy that is used within the body. There are many different kinds of energy within the body, some of which are not even on your spectrograms or spectroscopes,
yes,
whatever you
I
call
understand. Mhm.
it. This energy moves ultra fast at ultra high frequencies.
The one that goes from the nucleus to the cytoplasm, it goes on ultra high frequencies.
Yes,
Is it measurable by us?
not by any of your instrumentation, but it is there.
Got it. Got it. I'm
You
just
have
thinking
not
that,
even you have not even begin to map the energies that are there, because many of you are looking too third dimensionally at the DNA. The DNA is already evolving into higher dimensional thought processes and densities. You have to remember, you are in the beginning or middle of an ascension period where things are changing rapidly. Fourth dimensional energy is changing. Your vibration is changing. So, all kinds of research that was done 50 years ago are obsolete in some ways because they have to re establish some of the energy patterns that they thought they once had established. Right now, things are moving in a different kind of vibration than they were 50 years ago. You must understand that. You must also see that as you enter into this new age, things must be looked at in a different way. Many of your people on this planet are looking at things the same way all the time, and that will not work for the future. Some that are coming up in the youth of your world will understand how the changes are coming about. They will discover different uh, chemicals than once existed in that particular system. Now, each and every individual are different, of course, as you know, because the way that your planet was seeded, some people will have different kinds of chemicals and energies in different places and different thoughts. Everyone is unique, but the DNA will function in very similar ways, and you just have to find the basic patterns of it, the basic chemical interests of the DNA, and the basic uh, patterns of the vibration or the resonance. Now, some of those are still the same from 50 years ago or 100 years ago, but some of them are changed.
so we are observing that the resonating structures in DNA are evolving in different directions, in the opposite directions. So fish and bird evolved to have longer proton wires within the DNA, and humans evolved to have shorter proton wires within the DNA. I wonder why.
The shorter wiring gives you a greater response time, a greater reaction time, and it is also a part of the evolution of your species because you are moving into a different era of thought and understanding. The mind or brain of a human being is now being more activated at earlier ages. Even at birth, the mind is being more activated by DNA than it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You find more children with higher IQs coming into your species because of this uh, evolution of DNA.
So protons chains in your species, are they longer and shorter than in humans?
Yes, they are non-existent actually.
Uh-huh. How about Pleiadians,
Do not
Pleiadian humans?
we do not any longer need proton strands to operate.
Right. So I'm just thinking that higher dimensional humans, like in Pleiades, would they have shorter proton wires or longer proton wires in the DNA?
It depends on the species, but
I
most
see.
of them will have shorter or no proton uh, wiring at all because
Mhm.
it all becomes quantumly entangled, and they learn by the use of technology. As you use technology, your DNA does change as well. The more the more signals in the air, the more electricity, the more magnetism that you put near your head. These things are changing the wiring of the brain and are affecting DNA.
So I noticed that single cell organisms, prokaryotes, don't have nuclei and don't have nucleosomes, and multicellular organisms have nuclei and DNA is wrapped around nucleosomes. And nucleosomes are these little tiny barrels, more like hockey puck size, hockey puck shape.
Yes,
And DNA wraps around almost nearly 2 turns around each of the nucleosomes.
yes,
So obviously, this invention of evolution is somehow tied with organism structure. Basically, if the organism has a structure, the shape, then it needs nucleosomes to keep the structure,
yes,
to sustain and organize. So basically, nucleosomes seem to be necessary for
they are.
medium distance communication between the nuclei. So the nuclei from one part of the body would communicate with the other part of the body from the distance.
As organisms become more complex, they need a more complex way of communication with their entire system. As you become, uh, as you have become a human, you see how complex your systems have become. Your system is much more complex than some regular mammals or other animals. It, however, will evolve forward to involve less physical matter and more uh, uh, etheric matter. Let's put it
Mhm.
that way.
Uh-huh.
So as you become greater, yes, there's more and more complication with the wiring so it can do more things in the body, reach more areas, communicate more um, autonomously and more effectively with the body. Your body has come to a place where now it's starting to evolve into less matter and not more.
Yeah, thanks. I'm looking for a mechanism, vibrational mechanism. How does DNA sequence in a sequence-dependent manner communicate to another DNA sequence in a different part of the body through nucleosome? So nucleosome is a very perfect, well-organized structure, which it contains about 180 letters. So the communication should be sequence dependent. So basically, one piece with 180 letters of DNA shoots the signal to another piece with 180 letters in a
Because you
different
have
part of
not
the body.
because you have not discovered the quantum entanglement that's there. There is part of that apparatus, that part of that nucleosomes that have the entanglement if necessary. Not all of them do, because it's not necessary for all of them to have it. But there are some that need immediate reactions to the face, the body, the brain, the eyes, the ears, the skin. These have quantum entanglement and they must have it. And you have to discover it because it's tiny and um, it's there though, and it is part of what is in your system, and it has to be that way so that you can, like you said, sometimes it seems to react even before the something is done. And you do you know why that is? Because sometimes the brain foresees something coming, such as fire, or they see something such as a bullet or an arrow. It's going to react even before that hits them. It's going to react even before, because the quantum entanglement has works both ways, from the mind to the DNA, from the DNA to the mind, in the DNA that's there, the mind DNA to the regular DNA, the regular DNA to the mind DNA, and if that makes any sense to you.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, I wrote in a paper about that, so it's not surprising you mentioning that. I
So
published
yes,
that about a few months ago.
so yes, that is what is happening. Is that it is anticipating what is coming, because the mind is educated enough to know what these things, what the reaction will be. So therefore, it can react before the other DNA. It can actually perceive ahead of time what to expect.
Yeah. Now I want to move closer to the structure of water, and so the DNA is surrounded by water, and actually water structures penetrate in, from the sides of DNA. It's called major and minor grooves. Basically, there are grooves on DNA. They're also helical. So between the double helix, there is like little grooves called major and minor. One is bigger, one is smaller. And water structures enter there, and they actually should be able, and they are able to sense the sequence of DNA, because at that scale, the DNA letters, nucleotides, they have different shapes, and water structures, when they come close to the nucleotide, they can actually go inside the groove and feel what molecule is there by its shape, what
Yes.
letter it is. So water structures can read the sequence of the DNA,
Yes.
and I believe water structures can also propagate the structure outside of DNA and transmit it outside through some sort of water structure, water memory, water structure, some sort of propagated crystallic order within the chaos. It's largely disorganized, but some structures are propagating in water. It's self-organizing system which builds structures and dissolves them. So
Yes.
in the nucleosome, There is a very interesting structure of channels and two loops of DNA, about 80 nucleotides long. So two loops, two circles, two loops are coming close to each other. So the water will be jammed within between those, creating some interesting water structure. So nucleosome might work as a water structuring system.
Right, exactly. What is happening is what you would call a chemical reaction. But it is far greater than that because these chemicals, water being a chemical in itself, being H2O, two, two particles of hydrogen and one of oxygen, can interact with these nucleotides because the and these chromosomes, well,
Nucleosome.
yes, I'm sorry. I was going to correct myself. Um, so I so I see that as a chemical reaction, and also the way that water works in your body system as well, because your body keeps your electrical charge going in some ways. It keeps your the oxygen in your system moving in many ways. So I do not see a surprise with that at all.
The surprise here, the question here is to discover the principle. How does the DNA sequence, the sequence of letters, resonate at large distances um, of the size of the body? So how does one cell in the foot resonate with another cell in the nose? And if it is an elephant, it's a big distance. So I'm
It is.
thinking that maybe, so nucleosomes are needed, absolutely needed, because all big animals have nucleosomes, and plants too. Big trees have nucleosomes. So it's apparently it's nucleosomes that are sending the signal and receiving it.
Are you
And
missing the concept? You're missing the concept of quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement can add when one part of the molecule is vibrating, the other one vibrates at the exact same time. It is quantum entanglement when certain cells divide, they are both activated at once. If one isn't activated, the other one is activated at exactly the same time. And this entanglement is what is called the quantum entanglement. And that is happening within the cells, within the nucleotides, etc. It has to happen that way. Otherwise, your body could not function properly.
right, yes. So I accept the entanglement, and now the question remains: how to read the resonance code in the genome? We have the sequence, so we need to read it. We need to understand how it is functioning to create this shape of the body through resonance. And I
Yes.
believe the key is in understanding how does nucleosome structure the water, so the whole nucleus becomes a system that sends and receives specific information, because it's not enough just to have entanglement. This entanglement has to be sequence dependent,
Yes.
and also it has to be able to transfer very specific information.
Yes. It is made for water. It is open to water. It has receptors for water. And it is something that will react positively with water. And these chemical reactions with water are are very positive. I don't know uh, why well you understand the resonance that water has a different resonance than the the nucleotides, right?
right? And maybe yes, maybe not. I think they
But
have common hexagons.
yes, they do. And but when they come into contact with each other, their resonance becomes very much the same. And so this is why this happens. This is why the reaction it happens the way it does, because they are made to interact with one another. They are made to entangle with one another. So uh, it is not unusual. I'm perhaps I'm missing the question, but I think that the resonance of the water, it becomes the same as the resonance of the nucleotide at some point in their interaction, and there are receptors in the nucleotide for water, and they will fit together quite nicely. And their chemical reaction, their chemical sequence, if you will, changes because water has the hydrogen and oxygen, not unlike the nucleotide, which has some of that in it as well, but it reinforces some of these chemical thought processes within the nucleotide so that there's a greater chemical bond. And that causes that to become a chain.
So they come together close. Do they actually exchange electrons or protons?
Yes,
They do.
yes.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a big question. Until recently, we were thinking that they were coming close, but were separated by hydrophobicity, basically by the repulsion.
You would not get the same reaction if they were.
So one of the practical applications is aging and any disease. Basically, as I understand from this perspective, is that the young body has a lot of coherence and agreement between the molecules of water, and DNA is vibrating in a very coherent, orderly fashion. And at older age, there is a decoherence, loss of order, loss of structure, and and um, and basically there is always kind of interplay between structuring and destructuring, building and breaking apart,
Yeah,
losing order. So somehow it would be nice to create a device or biological device, basically a bio device containing water and DNA that would saturate the body with some order, basically bring the order from outside to the body.
that is not necessary. What is necessary is stem cell replacement. Whenever a stem cell gets old and is starting to fade, this is what causes because stem cell DNA is actually pretty fragile in your density. What we have learned is that during the lifetime of the, spe- the species or the being, that we've learned how to take some DNA from the the infant and clone it so that it can be injected into the human at different times in their existence so that they can stay younger quite a bit longer and live for at least 50 to 100 years longer.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. It's
You
cool.
understand the principle then?
Of course, it's cool.
Yes, we have
But that would
one.
require a lot of how do you say order in the society. People
Yes.
don't have funds when they're young. They don't have funds to do that. So when they
Well,
become rich, they already don't have their cells. So it's a bit a bit. It would be a privilege only of selected individuals, not for everybody.
Yes. There are certain things in the youth that, when cloned, such as chemicals in the brain and the stem cells, etc., when injected into the body at different periods of the lifespan, increases life and vitality. But you must do it at infancy. That information is taken at infancy and stored, and you will be it is filed. Now, when it first started to happen on our planet, there was lots of theft. People were stealing infant files and their stem cell and chemical makeup so that they could be young again. But the thing is, we got past that period, and now every one of our species members will have that done at birth, and it's easy to do now with the technology that we've developed. It actually takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah, our technologies, it would might be harmful for the baby to take the cells from the baby.
Not if it's only one.
One cell?
One stem cell. You clone it, you make many out of it.
I see. Can you take it from the blood?
Yes.
Uh-huh. It's a good business.
Yes.
Thanks. It's a good business, except it has very little to do with resonance. I don't want to be distracted,
Oh,
but it's
I'm
a
sorry,
good
I got
business.
off topic.
No, it's a good business. I'm considering myself to kind of start that business, but will distract me from resonance research. So that's one of the problems.
Well, what you need, my friend, is a way of finding the vibrations that are higher than the ones that you can measure right now. You need to find a higher way of sensing resonance, vibration. That would help you in your research quite a bit.
How can I do that?
I don't know, but I will look into it.
Yeah, my approach is assume it is there. And instead of doing experiments to build models, which would allow me to decipher the genome code, the vibrational code of the genome, just based on the model. So I assume the higher vibrational resonance is there. And now I look at the nucleosome structures and try to figure out which DNA sequences actually resonate in those nucleosomes and how the information is transferred from one nucleosome to in one part of the body to a different part of the body, because it should be some specific information transfer. It's just not any information. It's what is needed for the shape of the body.
You're correct. It has to be specific. You're looking at the chemical aspect of this, I'm seeing, and the resonant aspect works with it as well. You must understand, resonance can happen simultaneously.
Okay.
I cannot explain it any other way, really. It is the matter of simultaneous response. So it is that is how your body works in such a efficient manner. And ours works even more efficiently since we have gotten rid of the protein strands and the proton strands.
I mean, is your DNA made of atoms?
Yes, but not
So
the same. But our science is different here than on your planet. We have studied your science, and we know that it is slightly different than the science here. This dimension has different mathematical elements to it than your planet. So dimension is different. Dimension is more mathematical mathematically entitled or found, and not the density, but the actual dimension.
Okay. Just a sec.
Are you all right?
No, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking if there is anything else where it can help.
I have given you
I
as much.
think I'm good for now.
Yes.
No, there is lots more. Just I have other burning questions which I think I should ask. And
I hope I have been helpful.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was very, especially the invention of this technology of preserving the stem cells. It's a great business idea.
Yes.
So my question is, I assume, changing the topic, I assume that each of us has a physical alien physical alien self who is part of the same soul. Is it right?
Yes.
So is it possible for me to talk to that person? For me?
The alien self?
Yeah.
That is who you're talking to.
Oh, are you my counterpart with the same soul?
Ah, you want your counterpart
Yeah.
in the alien realm. I see.
Yeah.
One moment. That's. We'll see if they come.
Thank you. Thank you for the conversation.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it would be nice to continue it.